Today we are sharing the ultimate guide to offshore banking. I will reveal the advantages of having multiple bank accounts across different jurisdictions, the best option for businesses, e-commerce, crypto, and asset protection. We also discuss the top countries for offshore banking, how to open these accounts, and the best credit cards to fly first class for free, stay in luxury hotels at no cost, and build a strong credit score to finance real estate and acquire companies. A few years ago, when I was a young entrepreneur, just 18 years old, in Spain, I started generating money like any early stage business owner. I was happy, I had a solid business that didn't rely on being famous, generating 5 figures per month, which in Spain basically means you are rich. But that feeling vanished quickly when suddenly you are hit with a tax bill from the tax office, Social Security, VAT, personal income tax, and from 10,000 euros you are left with 5,000. And if I didn't pay, they would freeze my money because they have control over everything. That's when I realized that if I had at least one bank account in another jurisdiction, like the US, they wouldn't have been able to touch that account so easily in case I did decide not to pay. I didn't evade anything, I paid taxes as a tax resident, but that's when I started to understand that even if you are doing everything by the book, you must always have funds in accounts outside your country of residency. Because paying taxes is just one thing, but what if there is a war? What if freeze your accounts? What if the digital euro rolls out or carbon tracking becomes mandatory and they want total control over us? That was the moment I understood the power of offshore banking. The first country is the United States, the US, a tax haven for non-residents. Despite everything, the US remains the global leader in terms of corporate banking. There are many aspects I don't like about the US, its values, its politics, but from a neutral financial perspective, we must recognize the following. It is the best country in the world to get rich quickly. It is the best place to start a company. It has the most efficient, functional, and powerful banking system on the planet, especially for non-residents who are not directly targeted by the IRS like permanent residents or US citizens. You can do everything online, remotely, just a few clicks, and you can set up your company, and you can get financing fairly easy. It's honestly insane. For example, you can get 0% financing between $100,000 and $250,000 for the first 12 to 18 months. And if your profile is really strong, you can access millions at 0%. That's why it's so important to work closely with the American credit system and maintain an excellent score. You can finance yourself using these 0% loans and generate returns, whether through investment strategies or business acquisition. This snowball effect in the US simply works, and it's especially powerful if you are a not tax resident, because you don't pay taxes, you enjoy privacy thanks to FATCA, you access one of the most flexible functional systems in the world, and that's why this is often the first step we take for international clients. We set up a US company, usually in Wyoming, completely online, no need to travel. You then get an anonymous company, and from there you open a corporate bank account for that company and also a bank account if needed. Why is US banking so powerful? Because you can use it for e-commerce, crypto banking, asset protections, high volume transaction, credit history building, even proof of funds and address accepted globally. And best of all, the US doesn't participate in the automatic exchange of banking information with any other country. All countries must report to the US, but the US reports to no one. It's an opaque jurisdiction at the international level, but no one calls it a tax haven. That's exactly what it is. It's asset protection at the highest level. It's an incredible system. But how do you open US bank accounts? It depends on whether you are a US citizen or not. We focus on non-citizen and non-residents. You set up your company online in 24 hours, you wait 2 weeks to 6 weeks to get the name, and later you can open bank accounts. You start fast and easily with vintage bank accounts like Mercury, Relay, Wise, but in the long term, I always recommend traveling to the US at least once to open a real bank account at Chase, JP Morgan, BofA, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, and if you don't want to travel, we can assist you a US banking officer who will open and manage your account for you. That way, you don't need to fly and can even get your local accounts faster. You just have to accept that a person with banking history in the US will manage the account on your behalf. Obviously, if you are a US resident or citizen, you already have this. Your problem rather is that many banks outside the US won't want to work with you simply because you are American, or worse, you have got the IRS breathing down your neck for every move you make. The second jurisdiction is Switzerland, premier banking destination. Switzerland is known for safety, stability, and its focus on high net worth clients. Weaknesses: high entry barriers, significant deposits are required. Some banks still operate traditionally and may lack flexibility or transparency. You can get their personal accounts, corporate accounts, Cook Island Trusts account, foundations accounts, and more. Switzerland accepts clients from all over the world. You can open bank accounts online if requirements are met. Banks typically require 500,000 or 800,000 euros, but others need at least 5 million. Yes, it's no longer as private as it used to be. It now participates in information sharing in the CRS, but if you hold accounts through offshore trusts in Nevis, the Cook Islands, or any strong jurisdiction, that adds another layer of privacy. The third jurisdiction, Liechtenstein, the king of banking privacy and security. Liechtenstein is a boutique alternative to Switzerland, known for its stability and anonymity. Banks like LGT and Bank Freak stand out, especially the latter, which is crypto-friendly and supports e-commerce businesses. Typically, they only accept clients from the European Economic Area, Switzerland, the UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. You will need a minimum deposit of 500,000 euros. Changing to another part of the world, moving to Asia, we need to mention Singapore, the new Switzerland of Asia. Singapore is also highly regarded as an extremely safe, stable, and secure jurisdiction. We have clients with very high net worth who have set up their base there to manage hundreds of millions of dollars. That alone tells you the level of security Singapore provides. Additionally, Singapore has some advantages over Switzerland. For example, it's more modern and digital jurisdiction. In my experience, online banking works much better in Singapore, especially if you don't live there. Do you want priority banking as a non-resident? You need to deposit $350,000. You want private banking? You need a balance of minimum $5 million. In general, if you bring the funds and have no criminal records, getting a bank account in Singapore is simple. Consistently ranked the best bank in the world for technology, very crypto-friendly, offers multi-currency accounts with access to 14 currencies, and it is very highly recommended. The second bank in Singapore, the second bank in Singapore I would recommend to you maybe is the UOB, United Overseas Bank, another bank I love. Now we have to mention another competitor to Singapore, which is the UAE. Banking in the UAE is extremely recommended if you want to live, invest, or do business in the Middle East. Maybe its reputation doesn't match that of Swiss or Singaporean banking, but my thought is that the UAE is giving up a lot of ground at the tax level following the OECD standards because it wants to get off all the black and green lists and wants to slowly become a hub like Singapore. Many people complain that corporate bank accounts are hard to open. They say the bank rejected them or it wasn't possible. But the truth is, the bank is not the problem. You are the problem. 80 to 90% of people set up their UAE companies incorrectly, or they get cheap free zones in any emirate that is not good enough, or they are simply not a strong enough profile for the bank. If you are making $10,000 per month, of course you won't get VIP treatment, but if you are bringing in $500,000 per month, the bank will treat you much better, and even more so if you have connections inside. We have an office in the UAE, and if you ever need assistance, I recommend reaching out. The same applies if you are currently in Mexico, because that's where we are based at this moment this video is being made. You can be relaxed because we don't charge $5,000 for a consultation, or we don't charge $25,000 for a simple free zone in IFSA. In the UAE, usually you are going to use Emirates MBD because probably it's the best online banking app in the UAE and also is becoming a global bank. I have recently seen ATMs in Saudi Arabia and even in London, in the UK. It's clearly expanding worldwide. Also, I want to mention Georgia because Georgia is called no question asked. For me, when we see this part of the world, always you can open accounts in Armenia, but Armenia is not in CRS, but the banks, is not at the same level as Georgia. Until recently, Georgia's banking was known for being anonymous, but now that it's joined GRS, that's no longer true. Still, you only need a passport, fill out a basic form, and in 15 minutes you can open an account at Bank of Georgia. Then, through their solo bank service, you can get an American Express Platinum on the same day. It's incredibly easy. Their online banking isn't quite at the level of Switzerland, Singapore, or the US, but it's improving quickly. Now it's time to mention Cook Islands. Okay guys, this part of the video now is extremely important because it's a powerful jurisdiction for asset protection and offshore banking. Many of our clients establish trusts in the Cook Islands, which already provides a strong legal shield. But you can also open a bank account directly in the Cook Islands or open a Swiss account in the name of the trust. That's an option. This gives you double-layered protection, fiduciary structure in one jurisdiction, and banking in another. We could go deeper into the UK and Luxembourg, but I think this overview is enough for now. Maybe if you want, we can make a video with our connections in Singapore and the UK. Maybe we can make a video with our connections in Singapore, UK, and in Luxembourg, because we have good connections there in some banks. You now know the key jurisdiction. The next step is to research each one thoroughly. And if you need help to set it correctly, I invite you to fill out the form in the description and let's create your action plan. And remember, if you are in the same country as we are right now, drop by our office and let's talk in a more private setting.